Welcome to Queer Next, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode. Your hair looks pretty fierce.
Oh,
Did you get a
say.
haircut?
Well, last week, the day that Winda passed, the lady that I go to get my hair cut, she's really difficult to get in with. You have to schedule 5 weeks in advance.
You texted me. You were like, there, but not there.
Yeah. She said next time that happens, if I ever lose my dog again, I have her permission to cancel. And I was like, well, it was just really, I figured, I wasn't doing anything else. Like when my mom died,
Yeah.
I went and taught because I didn't know what else to do with myself. Just sitting at home doesn't feel right. You feel like you want to do something. I have a scar on my chin. Have you ever used bio oil before?
Yeah, I used it on my mastectomy scars after top surgery.
Yeah. Well, I'm using it on this, the spot we talked about that I couldn't get to heal up. I finally got it to heal up. And so I'm using this on it and I'm hoping that it works.
Yeah, it helped. I mean, it's kind of like vitamin E oil with a little bit of, I think, some extra type stuff in it. I don't think you can buy this stuff in smaller quantities, but there's silicone scar treatment. The best one I found is called Mepitac. This is unsponsored content, but trans people who have chest surgery of any kind, like that stuff, put it on there. You can actually feel, that itchy feeling when a scar is healing. You can actually feel that after you put that stuff on any scar. It's good for a C-section scar too.
Wow.
But it my scars are really not visible from, you have to get up close like that tech was when he asked me like what they were from. It does pretty good, but like I said, you can't buy a small amount of it. It comes in spools and it's probably $30.
Yeah. I learned something about trans people today that I didn't know.
Okay, hit me.
I follow several trans people on social media. I learned about trans tape today. I had no such idea that a thing like that existed. And I learned the uses for it. So I was like, wow. And also that there's a device you can use to pee standing up. I was like I knew that in theory, I knew the one about the one you can take camping or whatever that isn't trying to be something, you know what I mean? But I didn't know there was one that you could use as like a packer. I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yep. They have such an extreme learning curve, but I mean, some of them, if you want to, you can spend thousands of dollars on them. And, I haven't, but I'm sure they're worth it. Maybe they have a lower learning curve, but yeah, the first one I got was like a $30 one from some store in Vietnam, and it was not successful. The trans tape, I know of like trans masculine and non-binary people use it to tape the breasts in a certain way, but I would say that trans feminine and trans women use it for other like body sculpting type of things too. If we have any trans feminine listeners, I would love to know like what products y'all use. How did you learn about this? Were you just doing some research or?
No, I follow a wide variety of people on social media. Like, I'm pretty sure my social media thinks I'm a Black woman because I follow so many Black, like I get a lot of Black advertisements. And the same with trans. I get trans people in my feed all the time. I have reached that part of TikTok. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are ingenious.
Yeah, for real.
Happy Trans Day.
Visibility.
Yeah. To Brian, no.
I wonder if he is also a bird-legged hoe under that skirt.
I kind of want to leave him alone, because on the one hand, like, why not? Everybody, if he wants to be a big titty dingbat on the weekends, whatever. But on the other hand, he's part of this machine.
Yeah.
And the irony is just too
hypocrisy.
Yeah. And just speaking as someone who understands humor, and that's just funny to me. But on the other hand, we do want to live in a world where everyone's free to shove. I think they were balloons he had in his shirt. That's why the nipples were all cockeyed.
Where would you even buy them that big?
Balloon? Oh, boobs. I have no.
Yeah.
The drag queens get their stuff. I have seen some honkers on if it's part of the performance for them to be just comically huge. I don't know.
They might get them like in my small town. My parents, we've talked about this before. My parents own the porn shop, We had a couple of drag queens that would come in to get specialized shoes ordered and other
Mm,
outfits, these things, sexy lingerie, that kind of thing, because it's the only
mm.
place they could get it in their size. And my parents were more than happy to special order stuff for them. So,
Right, because I guess it's kind of like fetish gear, you know?
yeah, exactly. There was one guy named Tom.
Yeah.
His name was Rihanna or something like that. And he had like a size 13 boot. He was trying to get like high heels and stuff. So
That's the plot of Kinky Boots. Have you seen that?
no.
Oh, you haven't seen Kinky Boots?
Uh-uh.
Oh, you would love it.
Yeah.
It's a musical now, which is great, but I haven't seen that one. But the movie has got Joel Edgerton, who I really like. It's a British movie, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Do you know he's like an action star normally, very muscular dude, very like handsome, well groomed black man in almost everything he ever plays. Well, he's a black man in everything he plays, but he plays the drag queen in this. And the plot is that his heels keep breaking because he's such a big guy. And he meets Joel Edgerton, who has a shoe company, and he's like, I can make you some really good boots. And it's this whole Clash of Worlds type of thing, Fish Called Wanda, whatever, but make it drag. It's so good. We should review that
I'm in.
because I haven't seen it. I just now, I think I was in like early undergrad last time I saw it. I'm going to see where it is. I'm sure it's plenty of places because yeah, it's on Broadway and it has musical written all over it. I get it, but I really like the story aspect of it.
Right.
I just prefer movies. I'm not a musical. I'm not a live.
Yeah.
Respect the art. Do not Timothy Chalamet me. I respect theater. I respect all that stuff, but I would rather watch a movie. Honestly, there's less social anxiety.
I love going to the theater. That you just saw.
Mhm.
It's like watching baseball on TV. It's good, but it's not the same as sitting in the stands. And live and theater is like that. It's good on TV, but it's so much better when you go live. Like I'm not into Wicked or anything like that, though. I love the story
Mm.
of the Wizard of Oz and that kind of thing. And I guess Wicked is a book. I've thought about reading
Mhm.
that. Speaking
Oh,
of reading, I just read Atmosphere by Tara Jenkins Reid. It was a lesbian novel that did not exploit the lesbianism. It was really good.
I remember us talking about this being up next on your
Queer book club.
glad to know it turned out. Is it sci-fi?
No, it's the story of two women who were in the second class of women to go through the space shuttle program at NASA, and they fall in love. And one of
Oh,
them thought she was asexual, basically, and then realized she wasn't when she met the girl. And the story of them having to hide and that kind of thing, going through training, concentrating on their careers, their families, that kind of thing. It was good.
okay, cool. And also, on seriousness for Trans Day of Visibility, I found on Substack there's an author I thought I would plug because I enjoyed their article this week. I just looked it up and forgot. KB Brookins. So Brookins is the last name. And they run a blog on Substack called Trans News That Doesn't Suck. And I really appreciate it because, I don't know how often they post. I just got exposed to them. But it is what it says, right? It's like, what if you could go someplace for updates about trans community or whatever and not have that impending jump scare of like when the horrible anti-trans bill or the hate crime or whatever is going to come up, like it. And so like everything they write is just cool stories about trans people doing stuff. And I read the T-Dub version today and it was pretty fun.
Well, that's fun.
But on Trans Day Visibility, I did a Facebook crime. Not crime. I made fun of somebody because there's plenty of opportunities, especially anytime there's a holiday or something or a day of observance. And Trans Day of Visibility it's not like it's Trans Day of Remembrance, right? I'm willing to have fun and stuff like that. I don't know the name of the Cincinnati or Hamilton County, Ohio has some Facebook page for something like a news, or maybe it's a government building or something like that, observer type thing. And they posted that they were raising the trans flag on Transgender Day of Visibility, which is a pretty big deal in a state like Ohio. And some dude he commented, we definitely see you all. You don't have to worry about that. Which is actually kind of funny. Like, if somebody, some of these folks is like, yeah, I see you. But what cracked me up about it was his profile pic was him like glistening and shirtless in the mirror at the gym, like flexing. He's just gotten done lifting or something like that. I think sometimes people, if they want to say something mean that's funny to them, they forget what they look like to the rest of us. Like, we can see you. And so I clicked on his profile, and you definitely, I worry about this myself. Like, if you have a profile that you try to kind of clamp down and keep private, you don't know what the last public thing you posted was. But if a stranger goes to your profile, that's all they're going to see. So if, in 2016, you posted your butthole or whatever and forgot to make it private because it was automatically.
I think I'd remember that.
You never know. Or you just said some horrible racist joke or whatever. Celebrities get got with this. It's going to be there because you're not going to remember to go back that far to private everything. And there's no automatic setting on Facebook. Anyway, the only thing on his profile was interests, Lady Gaga. And then his profile picture of him topless. And I was like, wait a minute. So I like screenshotted his profile and then highlighted that. And then commented, mother would not be impressed with with you bullying trans people, little monster. I don't know. And I never got any notifications. So I don't know if he said anything back. Probably deleted it.
Probably. It's amazing to me how many trans kids I have every semester now. I used to have maybe one a semester. Now I've got 5 or 6 this semester. Then those are the ones that have outed themselves to me. One semester I was teaching ACS, and we were talking about transgender people, and out of nowhere, this girl in the back raised her hand, and she was like, well, when I transitioned, and I was like, well, okay. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I have had, like, it's not a, I recognize it when I see it or whatever, but like usually as I know of, they usually tell me in some way, either in a worksheet or, it comes up because we talk about identities a lot and that kind of thing. But they didn't mention it until they just broadcast it to everybody. And I was like, all right, girl, go ahead.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think, it may be getting easier for people in certain situations to do that kind of thing, to just sort of organically drop that. I think also the work we did to try to make our classrooms more inviting or inclusive of trans people has actually paid off. I think it's likely that, for instance, the way you call roll, I know people who send out an email ahead of time and go like, yeah, if there's anything you want to tell me, for instance, you use certain pronouns that may not be obvious when I look at this, let me know.
That's a good way to do it.
It goes a long way.
Yeah. I like it because it establishes a situation of respect at the very beginning, right? Because, I mean, maybe your first name is like Reginald or something and you go by Scotty or whatever. That's not just trans people that benefit from that, So, like, I've got one kid, his name is Lawrence and he goes by Mac. And so I call him Mac. I have a girl, her name is Tina or something. She goes by T, which is why I don't know her real name, because she goes by T. Because you tell me whatever you want me to call you, and that's what I'll call you.
Yeah, I went on a walk, and sometimes I'll either have imaginary arguments or give lectures in my head while I'm on a walk. Sort of, I think some people do this in the shower, but for me, this really comes out when I'm working out.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of giving a lecture. This is how I organize my thoughts, right? Just giving imaginary PowerPoints, and it's also thrilling. I don't know why. Is that maybe that's just an academic thing, but I love giving a lecture. But I was thinking about how inclusion, like the version of inclusion that we're advocating for, it's not just kinder and better and lowers the potential of harm and all those things. It's also it's more correct. Because it came up in the context of, how in Alaska and Canada, the like indigenous people there, different tribes, they have so many different words for snow.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many different way more ways that their life is impacted by what kind of weather it is, what kind of snow it is. So they have words for it instead of having to stop and give a lecture about what kind of snow it is outside. And I remember this time I had an argument with a guy who wouldn't stop using that slur, right, that starts with an E to describe Inuit people or Inupiaq people. And it always devolves into, well, you're so sensitive, or you people are so sensitive. Why can't I just say this word? And even if that's not really neither here nor there, wouldn't you just want to be correct? Wouldn't you want to be more correct? Because that, first of all, that seems like your whole deal, right? That you identify as correct about everything.
Right.
Being inclusive is being correct, right? Knowing the correct name for something, even if we're just talking about, let's take it back to snow instead of people, it's more useful and probably more functional to use the correct term for something instead of trying to use one that a lot of people have said is fucked up anyway.
Yeah. We talk a lot about language in my classes because it's important. I call it socially lived theorizing. We talk about, I frame it with the word Appalachia. It's on my PowerPoint, or I go up to the board and I write the word Appalachia, and I'm careful not to say it before that. And I say, all right, how do you pronounce this word? And I get several saying Appalachia and several saying Appalachia usually. And I was like, does it matter? And, I was like, who does it matter to? And they're like, well, no, not really. And then I played this video. I might have told you about this before. There's an island in Ireland. There's a place called Derry. And if you call it Londonderry, you are saying that you side with the British, right? But if you just call it Derry, you side with the Irish. So by using one word, you are telling the person that you were telling where you're going everything about you, your religion. You're telling them your politics, so like all of those things. And saying the word Appalachia works exactly the same way. It's the language of the people, not of the oppressor. And so then we also talk about, this week we talked about Native American issues like boarding schools and blood quantums and things like that. And mascots came up. And the kid that I told you I had an issue with a couple of weeks ago, he picks at things that don't need to be picked at. Like, he's just a pain in my butt, really.
Is it the boy that solved racism with colorblindness?
Yes.
Okay, great. What did he have to say about that?
Well, so in my class, for 8 different weeks, I have the student, I assign them to group projects, to groups, and they do projects where they have to introduce the reading. They have to do a PowerPoint. Everybody has to talk. They have to go through the reading, and then they have to do discussion questions, right? It's a 8-minute presentation, but it means I don't have to do the readings every time. And it forces them to read at least one thing that freaking semester, right? So his was the last group, and they did the Native American group. And the mascot part came up because it was in the reading. And he basically said that it wasn't a big deal and that people should get over it. And he made a couple of points, and I was like, okay, because I don't say a word during his presentations. They're totally class-based, right? I don't chime in with my 2 cents. And so after they were done, I got up there and I was like, okay, that's certainly one way to look at it. A few things I want to add. And so the mascots, the way that I usually explain it, you're hearing all my fun tricks. I say, so what would happen if I'm starting a high school? That's not how it works, but let's just pretend I'm starting a high school, right? And so it comes time to come up with a mascot, and I decide we're going to be the Fighting Jesus Christs. And every Friday night, we drag a cross out with a guy hanging off of it with posters with like, send them to hell, boys, right? How offensive would that be to you? And people are appalled by it. Like, they can't even believe I've said it. And I'm like, well, that's basically what we do with Native American religion when we do these dances and have these feathers and all the drum beats and things like that, because it's part of their religion. And so I said, and nobody wants to be a caricature, right? I was like, name any other mascot that's a person that isn't not doing a job besides Native Americans. And they're like, well, the Fighting Irish. And I was like, well, their mascot is a leprechaun. That does not count. We're talking about mascots, not you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about the actual mascots. And somebody else was the Flying Dutchman, and they were the shoes. And I was like, again, it's not, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, they're not real things.
Wait, the Flying Dutchman are the shoes instead of ships?
Yes.
That really doesn't make... Okay, well, anyway, technically Vikings are people, but
they're not not real anymore. They're not fighting for equal rights. They don't need the right to vote
Right. They're not also like currently being legislated by fuck shit like these birthright citizenship debates.
Yeah.
A Viking isn't sitting in front of you going like, would you stop wearing me as a costume
Yeah.
while I fight with the literal government?
Viking was also technically a job.
A job, right.
And so after the class, a girl came up to me and she was like, I really used to think that Chief Wahoo was okay. She was like, but like this really, I understand it now. And I was like 20 minutes in one class in high school and everybody would feel a lot differently about this shit, I feel like if so many things that I teach that if we could do it at a remedial, like at a much younger age, so many problems would be solved. Like stop teaching fucking pre-calculus. Nobody needs pre-calculus except a few nerds.
Well, and even like you said, like just a few minutes in a course on American history, like no one's asking Miss Whitey McWhiterson to be able to unpack American colonialism over the course of a period in 4th grade or
Right.
whatever of 7th grade. And we're not asking you to do, well, I'm not, maybe somebody is asking you to do that and that person's fucking stupid. I am not asking you to do that because I've taught and I know young people and I know that teaching in young people are oil and water.
Right.
Teaching young people something complicated and icky about something that still has relevance. I mean, Indigenous people are fucking dying. They're dying from poverty issues, from systemic issues. They're dying from murder, like
obesity,
addiction, all kinds of like those social problems that racism can exacerbate and poverty because they're experiencing both in high potency. Coming here, this university used to be a boarding school.
Oh, like a Native American boarding school?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We had that project where they come and I think it's called Bring Them Home. They come and look for bodies on campus.
Yeah.
My building is the former boys' dormitory.
Oh, wow.
And it is awful. Like the job I do, right? And I'm a transgender person and a queer hillbilly or whatever. I have been in many a fucking closet dungeon office at a university. This one is it's haunted. It actually, the walls talk, and I don't even really believe in that stuff. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I can say that because I believe in a certain way that I feel when I go to work. And I know for a fact that I became just psychically unwell as soon as I came to work here. And I don't think it's the ghosts of, Native children who were murdered here because they were. I think it's the identity of this place can't get a grip with itself. And it has this, what's it called? A mission, a restorative justice mission. The kind of school we are, Native students, anybody with either tribal citizenship or just lineage gets free tuition to come here. We have a lot of programs dedicated to supporting those students, and we're still failing. We're absolutely falling on our face because we can't resource and support the people who do that work. And if a school like ours is failing and we're like, it's in our mission and we get federal dollars, we used to anyway. That's one of the reasons I was fired, was because they lost that grant and that office has this gigantic mission and there's no dollars to support people to actually work in it. I've had so many incredible and really uncomfortable unlearning and learning moments since I came here. And that's like the thing I'll be most grateful for. I really thought I shouldn't, but I think I thought I'd reached a point in my career where those gigantic epiphany moments were mostly over, but not the case because there is history everywhere here and it's recent as fuck. That's why this university is only 80 years old.
Yeah.
Or 60. It's only 60 years old. Jesus.
Yeah. The university that I taught at when I moved back home, I just saw the other day they are having their 40th anniversary. It used to be Ohio University Southern Campus, and now they're something different. But at 40 years, I was like, wow, wow.
It's younger than me.
No, the first time I ever set foot on a college campus was when I was like 5 years old in kindergarten. They had these special, I don't know, at the college every summer, they had these 2-week-long classes where you learned all kinds of different things, from rock tumbling to drawing to tracing from a projector.
The community ed classes.
Yeah, and I got to do them like every year. That's one of the cool things my mom paid for. But the first year, I think it was more of a referral thing. And I took a reading class. It was a specialized reading class for like kindergartners, and we learned the story of Johnny Appleseed. And so I was 5, and we had to go down to the college, and I met other 5-year-olds there. And my mom took me, and the Shawnee State was only one. It was only one building at that time, Massey Hall, and they've added several buildings and really kind of built it up. They've added dorms. They've really grown. So they're adding a football team here in the next year. So they hired the head coach. So I guess so. The Detroit Lions, before they were the Detroit Lions in like the 1920s and 30s, were the Portsmouth Spartans. They started down there, and so they're probably using the stadium from that. It's an all cement, huge monolith of a thing. They'll probably use that as the stadium for the football team, because I don't know of anywhere else they could have put it.
I saw that EKU is now the third largest university in Kentucky. So it's actually, I guess, behind UK and U of L, which honestly, I thought that already was the case. Now that I think about it, who else was it? Oh, probably Western. Probably there's probably like NKU and WKU and all those other regional colleges. There are so many fucking colleges in Kentucky. And I know that every state kind of has a lot of them if you take like public and private together. But Kentucky's actually not a very large state.
Wow.
But I think it's like all the community and technical colleges in Kentucky.
Yeah. And they get a bad rap for being uneducated.
Have you seen the national parks on TikTok?
Like the alt national parks, or?
No, the real national park TikTok accounts. Their funding got cut, and they have just gone balls to the wall, insane. And they're posting these like edited thirst traps, I guess, like nature thirst traps. The first one I saw was Yellowstone, and maybe they started it, I don't know, but it's mostly just editing because it's just footage of the national park or whatever. And sometimes they'll edit in like a really sexy person, or imagery evocative of a certain act. They'll include music or sound bites, and it's really fun. They're all in on it now. Joshua Tree National Park, they'll like respond to each other, and it is just masterful. They're clearly like collaborating, and each of them is doing their own thing. So today I saw Blue Ridge. Oh shoot, what's it called? What's that? Blue Ridge Mountain Park.
Parkway?
Blue Ridge Mountain Parkway.
It's a beautiful drive. If you've never done it, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's in the Great Smoky Mountains. And so, but there was somebody who was like complaining about the content. They were like, nature doesn't need to be sexy, or nature shouldn't be sexy, I guess was their point. Which, have you seen nature? Like,
one of my photo assignments was sexy bitches.
Yeah. Like at its core, nature is fucking fighting and feeding and sleeping. I mean, the 4 F's. But they stitched her. I don't know. They included this like gushing waterfall coming out of a very yonic. We were talking about yonic symbols, like the vaginal looking cave. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is so. Of course, the first one I see that's in the Smoky Mountain Appalachia region is lesbianic. You know, it's sapphic.
That's awesome. Lesbianic. That's a fun word. That sounds like a band name. Lesbianic.
It does. The first time I heard that, and I actually haven't heard it very often, but it was on Will and Grace. Shortly after coming out, I don't remember how this happened for her, but Rosie O'Donnell guested on Will and Grace, and she played like, I think Jack, it's some like convoluted story where he had a son, and I think they adopted him. Like and so he knew her, but he didn't know that she was gay, and so she had come out or whatever. And he said something like, "You're not a lesbian. Say something lesbianic." And she goes, "Home Depot."
You know, that's who I was always compared to when I was a kid, because I had that same bob haircut, and I was a white ass and loud. I mean, I remember being at the dollar store and the lady being like, "Do you know who you remind me of?" I was like, "Who?" And she was like, "Rosie O'Donnell." And it would happen all over the place. It was crazy.
Who do you still get told you look like anybody, or do people?
My dad.
Is there someone new?
About it. Shanna and I both look like our fathers.
I posted that throwback pic of that time I hosted a drag show for EKU admissions, and it reminded me that at that thing I was I was emceeing and, trying to be funny or whatever. And the students, these were high schoolers. So I was like, they're going to tear me apart. They're going to hate this because it wasn't like gay or whatever. I just decided to co-host this variety show thing with a drag performer. And the vice chancellor was like, okay. And I was like, are you serious? Okay. They wouldn't let us include it in any media or whatever, but they let us do it. It was so crazy. It was the gayest thing a university's ever let me done. And it was in Kentucky, but they loved it. The kids were like, no one has ever trusted us with content like this before. Like we made them feel we respected their discernment, right? Like we respected them as intellectuals. So a group of them came up afterwards and they're like, you're so funny. You remind me of Ryan Reynolds. And I was like, oh. I think they thought it was a compliment, but I did not feel, that's not how I experienced that. Like, what do you mean? Do I look like him? Because I don't think that's it. Do I sound like him?
Right. I probably, if people knew what Rosie looked like now, I'd probably still get the comparison.
Actually.
She's very gray-headed. Has the big swoop in the front. My swoop isn't as big as hers.
She's a silver fox. Well, you don't wear your hair like she does. You've got, a high and tight kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I like my short hair. I love it.
Yeah. I miss being able to. Mine's gotten a little sparse on top here because of I think it's whatever autoimmune disease I have. I suddenly started losing my hair, and then hard water here. It's like 6 months ago. I was like, fuck, I'm bald.
Oh. It's better than my friend Ben. He started balding when we were in the 6th grade. Like he started getting a receding hairline that young.
Trans guys or trans masculine people, like if you were assigned female at birth and you want to transition using testosterone, you're signing up for baldness, And I think I always thought it would bother me more. It's very gender affirming.
Is it the testosterone that causes it or? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They say it travels on, it goes on the mom's side. That kind of true. It's kind of a misunderstanding of how the alleles work. The gene that most commonly causes male pattern baldness is carried on the X chromosome. So everybody has an X chromosome pretty much. Like that. Right. I don't even know if there's an intersex disorder that doesn't have an X chromosome in it. So literally any of us could have that. But if you have 2 X chromosomes, you're roughly twice as likely to experience baldness if you introduce an androgenic, which trans men do. So it's more common. We're actually a little more likely to go bald than a cis guy.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Because they've only got the one. But it can be hard for cis people to understand what we mean by gender affirming. And maybe it's different for everybody. But to me, it's the fact that I don't think I could do anything could pull out my teeth, shave off all my hair, wear a stupid outfit, and I would just still look beautiful to myself. I'd be like, God dang. Because it's maybe it's vanity, I don't know, but it's sort of like, yeah, that's what I was seeing back there. I remember being a kid, and maybe this is just a little bit of neurodivergence as well, but I spent a ton of time staring in the mirror. I would, I think dissociate is the term for it, probably what I was doing, but I would get in front of a mirror and I wasn't feeling anything in particular. I was just sort of analyzing and comparing. And I was like, that is so weird. Because just imagine you're looking at something, but you don't feel like that's what you're looking at. And there were times when I could see it, especially when I was young before I had hit puberty, and I could still kind of, if you want to be a tomboy before you hit puberty, or you want to be, you want to express any kind of gender, it's a lot easier without those secondary sex characteristics. But then as I started to hit first puberty, girl puberty, I was like it was like this divergence of what I thought I should be seeing and what was actually materializing. And it was splitting in half. It was so weird. And so then it sort of came back together again. And I don't even I'm probably getting wrinkly. I'm probably getting bags and whatever. And I don't even fucking notice because I'm just God, yes, that's it. That's what was supposed to be there all this time.
That's awesome. To feel at home in your body finally. That must feel amazing.
It feels not like a cheat code, but sometimes when I hear cis people, and I know that there's a lot of reasons why a person might be unhappy with their appearance, I'm just I wish you knew, or I wish you could value the thing you have that I didn't. You're taking it for granted. There's something so amazing about feeling cohesion without even having to go through all the effort of surgeries and hormones and stuff like that. But that's also, I don't have the right to tell anybody to be happy with how they look. If somebody, there's a lot of things that can cause somebody to not like that.
Right. Shanna says I have the fat people version of all of that, where you look at yourself and you see differently than what other people see. Kind of, I forget the word for this.
I don't know. Like
I keep buying my clothes too big.
I mean, all I'm coming up with is anorexia. Isn't that a feature of anorexia? Like you think you're bigger than you are?
She said the word. I'm not. It's not coming to me right now. It's too late on a Saturday. You think
Dysmorphia? No, that's not.
is that?
Yeah, it might be dysmorphia.
Body dysmorphia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably I think that's probably really common because we put so much like self-worth and morality onto our bodies. Well, we Americans do, but I'd say I'm sure it's common in a lot of the Western world anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, think about like our bodies are the only signifier that we ostensibly have it in total control over, and it sort of signifies our identity.
Our bodies do?
Like for better or for worse, I don't know if it's probably not a good thing that it's like that, but you know, think of the ways we use it. Did you take Radhika's class with me about, it was a media class, of course. I think you were in there. We read this really awesome essay by Elizabeth Cady called Body as Medium. And it was about that. It was about the ways that we use our body as mediums to channel or transmit things about us. It can be like, one thing could be gender, like say if I'm wearing a clothing item that is gendered a certain way, then I'm mediating through my body. But another is affect, you know, how much of our communication is nonverbal. Like linguists can't agree, but like the spread is somewhere between 65 up to 90% of our communication is nonverbal.
Wow.
So gender is just part of that. It just sticks out a lot now because these people won't shut up about it.
Did you hear who went to the hospital today?
No.
The orange one.
Oh, no. How did I miss that?
Yeah. That's unconfirmed. The reports are that he's at Walter Reed. So fingers crossed.
It's the same shit that we've been doing with like Putin for a while or Netanyahu or whatever. Like, are they or aren't they circling the drain? But
their hands don't look like him. And as somebody with the same leg condition as him, they don't have to deal with that. It really sucks here to make fun of him for his cankles, but it is kind of funny too. So I just laugh.
You know, that kind of does like circle back to what we were talking about before, like making fun of shit. It is totally possible to make fun of a person or their identity, sort of still maintain or leave room for dignity for themselves to be in there. One of the funniest roast battles I've ever seen. Do you ever watch those? Like some of them are good. I don't like Wild 'N Out as much because, well, the best ones are like the grungy, like really indie lo-fi ones that are in a clearly shitty comedy club. Robin Tran and this guy named Joe, I don't remember his last name. He's a comedian with cerebral palsy, and it's very severe. Like he uses a chair. His name was Joe.
You sure it wasn't Josh Blue?
Let me look. Joe Urell. Eurell. And I think he's done a few of these because I just Googled him and it's come up with a few of them. But Robin Tran is a trans woman. And so they were roasting each other for their identities, right? He was roasting her about being trans and queer, and she was roasting him about being disabled. And it was genius. First of all, like the ways that they were doing it was so light-footed, but also it was clear, it was roast. Like they were going for it. They started off kind of timid. He was saying stuff like, yeah, my arms are straighter than you'll ever be. And she was like, yeah, I do have a dick. When's the last time you used yours? That kind of stuff. But they started to build some momentum and some energy, and it builds to this moment where she sort of points to him, like down at him, because she was very tall and he was in his chair, and she goes, the only person that has ever fucked Joe is God. And that is the hardest I have ever laughed at one of them. I was like, that's one of the meanest things I've ever heard anybody say. I'm gonna put that link in the show notes because it's on YouTube. Oh, and he was just like, by that point, it was the perfect thing. And he was just like, that is true. That's the only person that has ever fucked me. And that's one of the things that like is so important about humor is that it can leave room for the butt of the joke to also be a participant. There's this idea that someone with a marginalized identity can't be the butt of the joke. That's not true.
Right.
You know, I don't want to live in a world where Trixie can't make fun of Caitlyn Jenner, or we can't make fun of random fucking MAGA people that get outed for being freaks. There is a rumor that the woman who outed him is an undocumented sex worker, which is amazing. I hope it's
Right.
true, but I hope she's safe. Like, I hope she has some really big cousins or representation or something. Like, I'm just going to put that one out there. Like, we love your work. You know, keep doing what you're doing, but take care of yourself. Oh, man. Maybe it's time to hear from this week's sponsor. I don't remember what it was. Okay, here we go. This week's episode of Queer Next is sponsored by Camel Cash. This was the sub economy of Jellicoe in the mid to late 80s and early 90s. The ritual was a sacred part of every morning. You'd flick open that box top, peel back the foil, and find him waiting there. Joe Camel, leaning against a pool table or wailing on a saxophone, we don't know why, printed on a miniature bill that promised a world of high-end leisure just out of our reach. If only we could become friends with Joe Camel, we too could lounge by a pool table. Thus, we became master hustlers of that C-note, scouring truck floorboards and raiding communal ashtrays to rescue the slips our older cousins were too lazy to keep track of. Every household had that one specific kitchen drawer, a junk pile of rubber-banded stacks that smelled faintly of Turkish tobacco and pure, wasted ambition. The smooth character catalog was a hayseed Sears and Roebuck, a glossy dream book we'd pore over for hours. We sat at kitchen tables with stubs of pencils calculating the complex exchange rate of nicotine to nylon and Tyvek. While the t-shirts and dartboards were fine prizes, we were all looking for that holy grail, the jacket. You remember the one? It was unmistakably made of the cast-off Tyvek from a richer person's house. It was bright danger yellow. It cost hundreds of C-notes for no good goddamn reason. And even though it would survive a nuclear apocalypse, it wasn't going to keep you warm or necessarily dry, but that couldn't have been farther from the point. Seeing your buddy walk into the quick stop draped in a brand new camel jacket was like watching a king enter his court. It was a status symbol that spoke of endurance and a strange kind of mountain-bred patience. Microfinance and rewards programs have always and will forever have a chokehold on Appalachia. In a world where we didn't have much to call our own, we saved our C-notes for the things that made us feel like legends. It wasn't entirely about branding and merchandising. It was about demonstrating our commitment and work ethic. We were wearing the proof of our hustle and the fruits of our labor.
That's great.
I think about camel jackets all the time.
We had, for Mom and Mark, they had Raleigh lights and they had the Raleigh coupons on them, and we had the Raleigh catalog. And then when I got older, I smoked, at first, I smoked Marlboro lights. And so you had to get the Marlboro Miles. And then after that, I smoked Camels for a long time. So, but yeah, Raleigh lights. Then they went to the Pell Mell, the blue ones. They stopped making the Raleigh lights.
That was part of the status symbol of the Camel Cash or the Camel merch, was that you could afford to smoke Camels.
Yeah.
Because Mom always smoked. Oh, she smoked Vantage there for a while. You know, the ones that had the hole in the filter?
No. What about the ones that are real long and skinny? Did you ever smoke
Virginia
those?
Slims?
Yeah.
Yeah, our friend Carolyn smoked those. They were menthol. They were always menthol. They were a lady's cigarette.
That's what my mom's best friend smokes. I'm sure she still smokes them to this day.
And my mom eventually switched to Kentucky's Best, which I think it was predominantly a roll-in tobacco. And you get it in bulk and roll your own. But then they would also sell cartons. I remember she smoked something called Midnights for a while there, but not for very long.
Do you remember your first cigarette?
Not really, because it was picking up butt and, smoking what was left on them. Yeah. No, I don't really. I mean, I started so young. I was like 9. But I do remember specific moments where, because the first time you smoke them, you feel sick.
Yeah.
And I remember I was pretty little and had been out smoking, and then like came home, and then I just felt so sick, like nauseous, and I couldn't get out of the bathroom, and she thought I was dying, and I was like, no. I would also, there was a bar, we lived on Bowling Strait in Jellicoe, and so just a little ways down the highway 25W was the Starlight Tavern. And later there was another house of ill repute closer to us even, and we would go down there on Sunday mornings and scavenge the parking lot. And if you have never done this, like, you don't know what you're missing out on, because we found money, but I found like really cool Zippo lighters and drugs. We found drugs a lot.
Yeah. That's one thing I still have at my grandpa's is his Zippo.
I just found mine the other day.
Yeah.
It's Sabrina got it for me for some birthday in my 30s. It's the Nostromo, the name of the spaceship in Alien, which I want to make you watch.
Gotcha. I would be down for that. I'm open to adventure, so I know you wouldn't lead me down the wrong path. So you've only seen it 400 times.
No. Did you bring a noun of Appalachian interest?
I did. Let me grab my glasses here because I'm an old person. This week's Appalachian noun of interest is the Tamarack Marketplace, which is basically what happens when West Virginia says, y'all are going to pull over whether you plan to or not. The Tamarack opened in 1996 right off the I-77 in Beckley, and it was built for one purpose, to make people stop. You're just driving along, minding your business, and then there's suddenly this big red roof like it's calling your name. You tell yourself you're just going to stretch your legs, maybe use the bathroom, nothing serious, and that's a lie. Because once you get inside, it's a whole experience. The Tamarack is a one-of-kind shopping and cultural experience with 59,000 square feet of art, food, and entertainment. It pulls together work from artists all over the state, and not in quiet museum kind of way. You'll turn a corner and someone is just there making something beautiful. There are 5 resident artists and studios on site, as well as a craft demonstration most weekends. Glass blowing, wood carving, weaving, all just fully in the middle of it like it's no big deal. And that's the part that feels right. It just says, yeah, this is what I do. I do it exquisitely. And then there's the food. Appalachian food is the best. If you didn't go in planning to eat, you're now standing there thinking about fried green tomatoes like it's a life decision. It's the kind of food that makes you pause mid-bite and reconsider every road trip snack you've ever accepted. I mean, they have beans and cornbread on the menu. So now what has started as a quick stop has turned into you wandering around with a handmade something in your hand, feeling like you just experienced a whole culture in under an hour. And that's really what the Tamarack is. It's not fancy. It's not trying to impress you. It's just proud. It's like, here's what we make. Here's how we live. Take it or leave it. This is West Virginia, almost heaven. But you're not really leaving it. You never really leave the Tamarack empty-handed. And honestly, that might be just the whole point. The Tamarack is not a place to stop. It's a reminder that there's real craft and real people behind the things we buy, even on the side of the highway. Take me home, country roads.
Tamarack? What is it?
Tamarack.
It's in West Virginia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Down southern West Virginia.
Oh.
Everybody stops.
Travel plot.
Everybody. Yeah. It's a marker. It's like a destination between West Virginia and Virginia. Like that everybody, if you're going to Myrtle Beach or whatever, everybody stops at the Tamarack.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's uniquely West Virginia. Like they were like, look at our rest stop. We're going to double it and quadruple it. And
yeah, I've stopped at some that are like towns.
Yeah. Did you ever go to Chicago from Toledo?
Yeah.
They have those highways where you can't get off the exit, and the only place you can get off is to these little shopping centers. And they're on both sides of the highway, and they'll have a gas station and like a Wendy's and a Subway.
Yeah.
And their gas is more expensive.
Yeah, because they have a chokehold on everybody coming and going. I hated driving into Chicago.
Me too. And it was so expensive. If you went one of the tollways, it was like $50 to go there and back. It's outrageous for driving on a damn road.
When I drove out here to Minnesota, I apparently gone through a bunch of toll roads, but you don't stop at them anymore. They just take pictures of the car and then mail you the charge. And if you don't pay it, I don't know, I'm sure they do something. That's why that scam where you get a text message, it's like, you have unpaid tolls. That's why it's kind of persuasive, because that's how that works now.
Right. Yeah. One scam that got me one time was it's so stupid. Looking back on it, I was a freaking idiot. I had to call and change, like, put a stop on my credit card because I knew I bit one. I got a message in my email from the post office saying that they had a package to deliver and they needed me to pay 12 cents to get it delivered. And I was like, okay, here's my credit card number. It was so stupid. It was so stupid. I don't know what must have been early in the morning, or I don't know. I had a package coming and it was late. And I was like, well, that must be it,
Well,
Hook,
that's
line, and
the
sinker.
reason that one works.
Yeah.
Because most of us have a package coming. It's, I mean, like the odds that somebody has ordered something.
Yeah.
I was up in Morrison. When I was still living on campus up there, I got a message or something from the real post office, right? Like it was I verified, and they were having trouble delivering something. And like there was a misprint. I'd sent it to my friend's house, and it was like they live on such and such avenue, but it's south that, and the person hadn't put the south on it. I called them and I was like, yeah, I've got a package that can't be delivered. And she just goes, no, you don't. It's a scam. And I was like, I appreciate you looking out for me, but I actually do. Like the vendor has called me and we can't get it delivered. And she's like, okay, sorry. Yeah, that's going around again. And I've had that like a bunch today.
That's funny.
My bad.
Yeah. How dare you have a real problem?
It is my luck though. Like,
and that's the thing. I'm one of those people. If it's random and can happen, it will happen to me. You know what I mean? Like I have so many examples of it. Like the one time I was in a car accident, it was a 5-car pileup and I was the last car, which I do not recommend at all. It's expensive and goes on your insurance. Anyway, they published my information in the newspaper because it was still the 90s, and one of the people I hit was from Paducah, Kentucky. So they published my information in the Paducah newspaper, which goes to the Western Regional Jail. And I started getting letters because they were like, full name here, and the full address here, Huntington, West Virginia, 25701. And like, it had my name, my age, my address. It had all of that. And I started getting letters from guys at the prison saying, do you want to be my friend? Please excuse my handwriting because I'm in the hole right now. I literally moved. I got a slew of those letters. Yeah. If it's random, it can happen. I almost had my arm ripped off by a boat. I once got stuck by a dirty needle trying to get a TB test done. Like, I got a lot of those stories.
The first time I went to jail is a culmination of such a years long comedy of errors. Oh my God. There's probably nothing worse than my accent trying to say the word errors. It's like if I went to the Taylor Swift Eras tour. I was watching some linguist on YouTube talk about this interesting phenomenon, and she was giving this examples of types of mergers, like Mary, Mary, Mary. Like most American dialects will merge the name Mary, the act of marrying somebody, and then to be Mary. They all sound the same way. And I was like, not my dialect. Like those are distinct. But anyway, I went to jail once when I was 20 years old, I think. And the thing that took me there started when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
And I drove every day. Just keep that in mind, between those two ages for it was like 3.5 years. When we still lived on the mountainside down in Jellicoe, we started going to school in Williamsburg. And before I was old enough to drive us, Mom would have to get up at 5 a.m. and take us to school. It wasn't really, it was a pretty far drive, but school, like some years they were doing this fucking thing where they couldn't quite figure out our schedule. One year we started at 7 a.m.
Oh, wow.
It was brutal. And she had she was one of those really lucky people in menopause and perimenopause and menopause who had migraines, really bad migraines. So there were days where she just could not get up at 5 a.m. and drive us from Jellicoe to Williamsburg to go to school. And like she would try, but like I remember one time she had to like stop the van halfway down the mountainside and jump out and like projectile vomit bile everywhere. And I don't think we knew it was a headache, but we didn't understand like what was causing it or how bad it was. So as soon as I got my license, I started driving us to school in the mornings, and it was not safe. I was not a very good driver. I got my driver's license way too young when I was by going to Tennessee. At the time, you could get a driver's license essentially at 15 in Tennessee, especially if you got a sob story about why you need it in the 90s anyway. So I was not a very good driver, driving us to school at like 6:30 in the morning in a Ford Aerostar. Nobody was on the road at this time. This is I-75. Who else is driving illegally from one state to the next to go to high school? So it was deserted, and we got pulled over. The police officer said, probably, do you know why I pulled you over? And I honestly didn't. Most of the time when I'm doing something wrong and you catch me doing something wrong, I honestly didn't know I was doing something wrong. I thought I was abiding by the rules because most of the time I prefer to do that. But so I was like, no, and I was scared to death. And he was like, you're speeding in a work zone. It was like I was in the office and I looked at the camera because nobody was working on the road. There was no sign posted. There was no like cones or anything. And I was like, okay. And he said, do you want to pay the speeding fine? It's $200, or do you want to sign up to go to traffic school? I was doing 70 miles an hour, which technically was speeding because it was 65 back then. But I was like, good God, y'all are serious about speeding, because I really didn't understand work zone rules. And so I was like, he said, you're going to get points on your license. And I was like, I don't know what that means either, but it sounds serious. So I said, all right, let's do traffic school. To me, like that just meant, okay, I'll hear something when I hear something, which is actually what that means. And I was 16, so I just went on about my life. Never heard anything, went on, and I'm a pretty safe driver. Like I said, I like to obey the rules, so I don't get pulled over a lot.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. 3.5 years later, I turned right at a red light in Richmond that was supposed to be posted with a don't turn right on red light sign, but it was so old that it had weathered off and it didn't say that anymore. And so they pulled me over and I was like, okay. And I had my craziest looking friend in the passenger seat of my Geo Metro. He had a mohawk, a really high mohawk that he had styled with egg whites to make it stick up better. He was a very strange dude. And he had his like punk jacket on. It was like this Civil War era Confederate coat with spikes he'd driven through it, all these piercings. I did not look normal. I had purple hair. I had homemade pants on, bright orange Chuck Taylors. And the worst thing about it was that we were sober. Like, we weren't doing anything it looked like we should have been doing. So he pulled me out and he gives me a what's it called? A sobriety test. And I passed that. There was open cans in the car at his feet under his Confederate coat that they didn't see, because when they ran my license, they realized that they could get their quota, because my license was suspended and had been since 6 months after I got pulled over when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He goes, your license is suspended. I was like, what? How does that happen? He goes, they alert you when they do it. There's no way you didn't know. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, what suspends a license? Like, I'm just so naive. And he, he didn't know. And he had a trainee, which is why he wanted to arrest somebody. So they arrested me, left the car sitting there. My crazy ass friend had to walk home. And I got pre-trial like 3 days later because it was a Friday. And the judge was like, yeah, it looks like you signed up to go to traffic school and never went 4 years ago. And I was like, it took me a long time to figure out what he was talking about. And apparently, so they mail the thing to the address on your license if anytime there's a traffic thing or anything. And the address on my license was not a mailing address. It was a physical address on the side of a mountain. So I don't know how long they tried to mail this stuff about traffic court or traffic class to me. And I forgot about it because I was a literal child. But I guess they just gave up and suspended my license. And the notification that my license had been suspended also never made it to me, because we didn't have a mailbox. We used a P.O. box. And so this cop didn't ask me, is this a mailing address or not? And I didn't think to tell him because I didn't know the difference.
Oh, wow.
And that's stupid.
Very.
4 years later, I literally was getting handcuffed and went to jail. And from my perspective, the only thing I knew that I had done wrong was turn right at a red light.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
I don't trust cops now because every time it's some shit like that. I've gone to jail 3 times. Twice it was for shit like that. And they always act like, oh, there's no way you wouldn't know your license is suspended. It's like, if you're a redneck that lives on the side of a mountain without a mailbox, you might. Or if you're a transgender person who gets randomly selected for audit, you might.
I was one time in a car. There were 4 girls. There were 4 of us. And I was sitting behind the driver, and we had a case of beer, and we were driving around drinking beer. And my friend, I guess she was swerving or something. She wasn't drinking, or she had 1 beer or whatever, but she was mostly sober, right? And so the cop pulls us over, and he makes me pour out all the beer on the side of the road, like all that was left of it. And then he assessed. He was like, "Have you been drinking?" I was like, "No, sir, absolutely not. I had definitely been drinking." And he determined that I was more sober than the driver, so he had me drive, and I was the drunkest one in the car. And so I drove like a block. I pulled out and, drove like a block and turned and pulled over and immediately let my friend get back in the car. But that's the time that the cop sanctioned my drunk driving, because I don't drink. I don't drink. I don't drink and drive. Well, I don't drink now. But I was never a drink and drive kind of person. I've always been willing to be designated driver. I have a couple of friends that really love that about me.
Oh man, yeah. I think that's why I don't trust. One of the many reasons why I don't trust police. Like we shouldn't trust an institution. Institutions don't deserve our
Yeah.
trust. But like I have this palpable fear every time I see a police officer that I'm going to jail. Like I
Yeah.
know for a fact. Like he's a mile away and we are not going to speak that day, but it doesn't matter. I've seen him, so now I'm going to jail. Anxiety's weird. Or
Yeah.
I don't know if that's anxiety or trauma.
Shanna's like that too. We'll be driving down the highway and there's a barrier on the highway, so there's no way they could come around. And we'll pass a cop, and she's going 2 miles over the speed limit. She's like, "Shit," because she's a rule follower as well. Must be your birthday that makes that.
Because they'll see us and they're going to call the chopper to come and get us.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess I was just looking to see where Kinky Boots is. We might have to buy it, or I do have it. I'll see if I can get an electronic copy.
Okay. We're going to see a dog on Tuesday, by the way.
I saw you took PETA out for a ride.
Yeah, we got approved to adopt, so we have to go.
What kind of, or do you have one in mind?
Her name is Meredith, and she's about 5 years old, and she's a Bichon Frise, and Bichon Frise. She came from a puppy mill. They bred her a bunch of times and then dumped her like she was trash. Aww. And she's just a little cute white dog, and she's petite and tiny, and we're hoping that she's the right fit.
I think a long time ago, I think when Vanessa first got together with her now husband, he had a Bichon. Because they're kind of poodle-ish. They're hypoallergenic dogs, yeah. Right?
And we've had poodles.
Straighter hair, yeah.
Well, we'll keep it short anyway. I don't like the long hairdos on them. They're just mats. And
I always thought of poodles as small. They're not. Like, some poodles are really big.
Yeah, the ones I had were really small. I had teacup poodles.
Oh, okay.
My mom bought Lacey for my nephew for his first birthday, but it turned out he was autistic and doesn't like dogs at all, even at that age. And so she got hurt being in that house because it was a chaotic house.
Oh,
and she was so tiny. She was little. So she ended up going back to my mom, and my mom was not a good dog mom. She would feed her things like mayonnaise sandwiches and just, yeah. And I was finally like, I'm taking that dog. I'm taking her with me. And Shanna and I moved in together, and I took her, and she's been ours since she was ours from the day we moved in together. So
I thought about seeing if my parents wanted Ziggy, because Ziggy's just, I think part of the reason she's peeing places because she doesn't like living with all these boys. They're all twice her size, and she can't play without them roughhousing her.
Yeah.
But they don't like cats inside, and there's so many predators down there. The coyotes, if a cat lives, I don't know about Ziggy living, just going, because she's not outdoor material either.
Right.
Like she could hunt fine, but I don't know about her fighting off a coyote.
Yeah.
Her little 6-pound ass. What are you going to do the rest of the day?
We went out. Shanna got off work at 2:00, and we had some errands to run. And we got, what did we eat? Mexican. We got Mexican food. And oh my God, the tacos I got were freaking delicious. They were carne asada. And we left there and I was like, I'm already thinking about those tacos again. So we're going to have to go get those again. And their salsa is so good at Al Vaquero. I don't know if you ever ate there in the Toledo area. They're a little
No,
chain,
God,
but the one in Perrysburg is really good.
I know I say this a lot that I miss restaurants, but like I also have been thinking about the fact that like I haven't eaten food that I haven't prepared myself for like I've maybe done that like 2 or 3 times in the past year since I
Wow.
moved down here. And I never thought I could even do that. Like I never thought I would be a person who's capable of that kind of thing. Like there's a giant pot of yellow curry in my fridge right now. And when it's time for dinner, sometimes I'll just make some white rice and that's what I have.
Yeah.
Well, let's get off of here.
Well, take good care of yourself.
Will do. You as well. I'll let you know where I find kinky boots.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, everybody be good. Thanks for hanging out with us for another week. Take care of yourself. Say hi to your mom and them.
Bye.